All right. I'm gonna start by saying, if you're somebody who finds thinks the Young Bucks are nothing but no selling crap, then you're not gonna like any of this. I mean, it's just not for you at all. You know, if you're somebody who's like, this shit kills the business and we don't like it, then you won't like it. Once again, one of the things that I like about AEW tonight overall was the fact that, there was a lot of different matches. There was, the match that was made to make Darby Allin and Sammy Guevara look kind of crazy and really got Darby Allin over. There was a match that put, Orange Cassidy in his first matchup where he actually tried, didn't have his stupid hands in his pockets, and that worked. Dustin Rhodes versus Jake Hager was a great classic brawling wrestling match, but even had some little nuances thrown in there from nowadays. And then, of course, the Bucks and Omega and everything. It was probably one of the best tag team matches of all time. Maybe to some people, though, it doesn't even count. Maybe to some people. My only issue with it was the referee counting, and the men being in the ring for like 30 seconds, and the referee not counting a 10, and nobody getting disqualified. That was annoying to me. But once you get past that, it was one of the best tag team matches that I've ever seen. One of the best things about it is, if you are a fan of the Young Bucks, if you are a fan of what they do, then you are. The match was just loaded with stuff. I mean, it is just so loaded with stuff that you'd have to break it down move by move and everything to really get into stuff. But the basic overall is, if you never usually watch wrestling, or you never watch AEW, or you don't really know who the Young Bucks are, and you tune into this, you'd be like, damn, this is nuts. Like, these guys are killing each other. When is this going to end? This is crazy. I mean, maybe it went a little too long, but it was crazy, But if you're a fan of all these guys and the Young Bucks, there was so many callbacks and little things, like little nuances and moments and, times where they did this move before and then it related to the, something from 2 years ago to a year ago to whatever. So if you got all those references, you were like super rewarded in this, watching this match. You were like, oh man, wow. It's kind of like when you're a super fan of like Star Wars or Star Trek, or a super fan of something. It's kind of like the new Sonic the Hedgehog movie. If you went to see Sonic the Hedgehog and you're a big Sonic the Hedgehog fan, or video games and you're a kid and everything, there's like so many callbacks to Sonic in the movie, little ones, that you're like, oh, that's so cool, or that's cool. And it makes the movie a little better, I guess. But even if you didn't know them, it doesn't matter, because it's still a good movie, or it's still a movie that you might like. It's the same thing with the Bucks here. I mean, if you didn't get it, it didn't matter, because the match was so wild. But if you got it, it was like payoff again, little payoffs. And then they're telling the story of these guys being in chaos. These friends having this roadblock. This kind of chaotic relationship that's going on with the Elite. Hangman Page is on this different page, and Omega and the Young Bucks, and now they're competing in the match. And so they were telling the in-match story was they were getting more and more frustrated. There was a time in the match, too, and I apologize, guys, I'm on my phone right now. I wish that Snapchat would shut the hell up, but I'm on my phone right now because... God damn it, that's annoying. I'm on my phone right now because I didn't want to go down the basement and turn on all the electronics and turn on all the microphones and everything if I was still having shortness of breath. Which I don't think I am anymore. Oh my god, will you shut the fuck up, phone? Like, really? Like, seriously, dude? Shut the fuck up. God damn, it's annoying. What the fuck is going on? I'm trying to shut down all my noises and stuff like that. But, wow. That's annoying. I think I fixed it. But yeah, so many callbacks and so many things, but yeah, there was a time where somebody tagged in or whatever. I think it was Hangman Page tagged in Kenny Omega, but before he did, he like slapped the hell out of him, and they were like, "Oh wow," you know, whatever. But it would have been nice. One of the things the announcers I don't think did was I in my mind that what Hangman Page was saying, like, here I did all this work, now you do something. But at the same time, they and the announcers mentioned that. But what I thought they should have also mentioned was, well, maybe it's not that. You know, maybe he's just trying to anger Kenny Omega, because Omega, he may think Omega's taking it easy on the Young Bucks, and he wants Omega to bring the fire, and so he's trying to piss off Omega by slapping the hell out of him and tagging him in that way. And look, it's working, because right after that, Kenny Omega went in the ring and he was furious and he was really going at the Young Bucks for the first time, and it felt like they were sort of giving Kenny Omega an out, right? Because even though the Young Bucks and Hangman Page are friends, Kenny Omega is a longer friend of the Young Bucks than Hangman Page, I believe. I think that's the case. So, you know, Kenny Omega's a little more tight with them, and even Hangman can sense that. And in the story, you know, Hangman's really disconnected from Omega and the Bucks. And so, you know, that was sort of him trying to snap Omega out of that and break that up, break that connection up there and get him fired up. And they really didn't, the commentators really didn't talk about that. They more just talked about, oh, that's him saying, I'm doing all the work, you do something. But I thought that was incorrect. I thought it was more of him trying to get them fired up. And that's just one of my notes that I wrote down that could be talked about for 5 to 10 minutes here, because that's how insane and crazy that this match was. Now, if you're, again, I repeat, if you're somebody who doesn't like this stuff, and I was online bitching about it. I was angry about the referee stuff, about them being in the match too long. I thought it looked ridiculous watching 2-on-1s for so long with no referee trying to get them out of the ring. It felt like, well, why are we here if they just allow 2-on-1s? Even Jim Ross in the match referenced this 2 or 3 times. The one time he referenced it that really pissed me off, and then he finally referenced it, he said, what is this, champion's advantage? Because the champions were allowed to be in there 2-on-1 for about 35 seconds. And the referee counted a 1, 2, 3, stopped counting at one point, then started counting again, then stopped counting. I mean, and I think one of the things that might have helped this is if the commentators had been like, well, you know, these guys, believe it, you know, these guys obviously gave special instructions to these referees, and obviously this is a tag team championship match, and none of these guys want it ended this way. Neither does the referee. So he's allowing some leniency here. But quite honestly, right now, it's not really fair to the challengers, because this 2-on-1's been going on forever. And, you know, somebody could have came in and said, well, you know, these guys, sometimes they live by the fight forever motto. And the referee's aware of that too. And, you know, they're going to let them play, I guess, you know, here. They're going to let them play. It's a tag team title match on pay-per-view. And nobody wants this thing to end in a DQ because someone was in the ring too long. But, you know, I agree with JR. It's they got a big advantage there. You can't ignore that. You know, I mean, maybe that would have helped me a little bit, but it was just enraging. Now, a lot of people didn't even notice it and didn't care. And if you didn't notice it, then ignorance is bliss, and God bless you, because you got, this match was even better for you. Now, I probably would have given this match a 9 or a 10 had that referee, you know, had the wrestlers not been in the ring, like, for these 2-on-1s, with the referee just being like, oh, well, I guess just have a 2-on-1. I mean, or if the match was a tornado tag. If it had been a tornado tag, I would have given it a 9, whatever. But they probably wouldn't have had the story that they had because of the tagging. So that's kind of my thing, is make up your mind. Do you want to tell a good story with a tag match, or do you want to just have all-out tornado tag chaos? I mean, if, you know, whatever. I thought they came close to balancing it perfectly. It was just a nitpick of mine in the match, you know. And when you talk about a match being one of the greatest of all time or one of the best ever, you know, you look for nitpicks, and you look for things to knock it down a little bit. And that's what I do. People always wonder about my grading system. Well, what the hell's a 9 and what's a 10 then, Joe? And one of the things about it is, you know, it's a 4.5 stars. It's a 4.8 stars. It's close, you know what I mean? But when I get to a 9, I start really scrutinizing. You know what I mean? So the level of difficulty goes up much higher. So at the level of 9, I start scrutinizing a match more than, I get really into it, And that's what separates, a 9.5 from a 8.5 or a 9 or, whatever. And certainly when you get to a 9.5, in my opinion, that's when, you better be talking about one of the most perfect things that you've ever seen, 9.5 to 10. And I don't know if I've ever had that. But anyway, the match was amazingly great. And despite my rage for the referee situation and the counting and that stuff, the match was packed full of stuff that related to the match itself. So the match's individual story itself was really good, and it was there, and it was progressing, and it told something, and at the end, it continued. At the end, when it looked like Page was going to buckshot Lariat, Omega, his own tag team partner, after they won, and then he didn't, and even the commentary was like, wait a minute, and I thought maybe they sold that a little too much. I think I thought it would have been crazy if he had gone for the buckshot Lariat, like flipped into the ring, and then hugged Omega instead, or stopped and then looked at him and then hugged him or raised his hand or something like that. And it would have been funny if one of the announcers was like, oh my goodness, I thought he was going to, I don't know why, but I thought he was going to buckshot Lariat is Kenny Omega. Why would you think that? Well, I don't know. Did you see what he just did? Well, yeah, it was just being a little bit, he's excited about the win. Being a little showmanship here with his tag team partner at the end. Oh, okay, you saw it that way. I thought, good God, I thought for a second something else was going to happen. Why would he do that? They just won the match. I don't know. That sort of thing. So I think that they could have, helped drive that story a little bit, maybe a little bit better, but that's, like I said, nitpicky. Overall, I really loved everything. I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's one of the best tag team. Some people are calling it the best tag team match ever. Some people are calling it one of the best tag team matches of all time. I'd have to say, I'd have to agree with that. It's one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen. I'd have to agree. I think somewhere, if I were to compile a top 20 tag team matches of all time, I feel like I'd put this on that list somewhere. Not sure where yet, but it's up pretty high, It really is. And I'm not someone who loves the spot fests all the time. There was a lot of spots in this. And like I said, some of those spots were callbacks to things that were done years ago. Some of those spots were callbacks to this match. Some of the spots were things were in regards to the story, the overall story, the in the moment match, and the overall story, and the overall existence of the Young Bucks. So, I mean, if you caught all that, my God, did you have a good time if you caught all of that. I caught most of it, I think, but for somebody who's a major, major mark for the Young Bucks and for Omega and those guys, I mean, they had, you must have had the time of your life, to be honest. And if you're somebody who doesn't know anything about anything, and you just turned on the match and, you kind of like what they've been doing, but you're not sure, and you loved it, well, you probably just loved it anyway. And I'm sure that 30% of the people out there hated every bit of it because they felt that it was too much of a spot fest. I'm able to get past that, you know what I mean? Only because if AEW every match was like this, it would drive me nuts. And in some cases, it was a little bit too much. But again, like the Jericho-Moxley thing was a regular brawler-like match. The Hager match was fairly regular wrestling match to me. Even Cody Rhodes and MJF was more of a classic style match. The Bucks and Omega and them, they were the only ones that went overboard with craziness. But I'm okay with that because I like the idea of a different taste for everybody throughout the night. Some people I saw saying, oh, the whole Revolution was just a big spot fest and no selling that ruined the business. I don't agree with that because I think every match was kind of a little bit different. I mean, most matches were different. I mean, no match was like that tag match, I don't think. And, SCU had a huge story even on the pre-show about the Exalted one, and that little story was fun. It was, kind of dumb and, it was cartoony and stuff. But, the match wasn't the greatest match. It was more about telling that little story. So I gave that a 6 or 7 out of 10 because I appreciated that. So, again, I gave the whole overall show an 8 out of 10. I thought it was an 8 out of 10. I think if you were a little more negative on it, maybe you sat around a 6 or 7 out of 10. If you were a full-on mark for AEW and what they did, I think maybe you gave it a 9 or a 10 or something like that. But I gave it an 8 out of 10, and I thought it was a very, very good show. I don't feel like I was robbed of my money. It's a little excessive, $50 is a little bit much. I would have preferred $25. $25, I would have felt like I robbed them. And that would have been much better if that's the case and that was the price. $50 will always feel excessive, although, again, I had a great time. Other than my shortness of breath last night, which is continuing a little bit today, but I'm a little bit better. I feel like I'm a little bit better. But I am still having this sort of excited, tight chest feeling. But it's not as bad as yesterday. I have it much more under control. I wouldn't have been able to even talk. So, I feel a little bit better this morning. I still don't feel 100%. But I feel a little bit better this morning. And thanks to everybody who understood last night. I'm sorry about that. But there's my review of, I guess my generic review of Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. I may revisit this again sometime if I watch it again, because again, there was so much in it. I probably forgot stuff from last night. I believe in showmanship from the referees too. I do believe in a little bit of showmanship. We've seen it from Charles Robinson over the years. Charles Robinson sometimes bothered me a little bit. I thought he was kind of too cartoony in the ring. And even Earl Hebner sometimes, back in the 80s, he'd be a little bit much, kind of like an umpire, like from baseball. A little too overboard, but they were okay. They never went into the lands that I feel like, Aubrey Edwards went a little far last night with her, roly-poly, turn around, throw him out thing. But again, that was to play it up for the audience. And she knew what she was doing, and the audience knew what she was doing. I would have preferred her to kind of just do the whole up, down, you're out, type of thing. I think that would have been fine. I don't think she needed to do, ring around the rosy, and she literally did the Dusty move. It's just a little bizarre. But whatever. And her points and stuff are weird. And then Bryce, that referee Bryce is just, God bless this guy, he drives me nuts. I don't want anybody to lose their jobs or anything like that. I know I might have even said that on Twitter, but I don't want anybody to really lose their jobs. I wish that people were told in the back, though, to stop doing this. But they must love it. They must like what they're doing, because why would they keep doing it? You know what I mean? But in my opinion, people are starting to see how ridiculous this Bryce referee is. He dives up in the air on every pinfall, on just a basic pinfall. He jumps way up in the air, and then he spreads his legs like a ballerina, like he's coming down like a ballerina, and then starts counting all feminine, weird, charismatically, and it's just bizarre. And then last night when Pac submitted Orange Cassidy, he was signaling to the referee, to the timekeeper, please ring the bell. I rang the bell, damn it, and he wanted the guy to ring the bell. And instead of pointing and sort of doing that sort of thing, he did this windmill spinning around like a maniac. Windmilled his arm around. And it was just the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And the guy is so obvious and annoying. That's why I'm talking about it. People are like, oh, you're picking on this referee. It's not that big a deal, that type of thing. It is. I've never talked about a referee before, guys. I've never talked about a referee before. I noticed it a little bit with Aubrey Edwards, and I've made mention to it a little bit. She's a little bit, standoutish, annoying. But whatever. But she's also really good. I like Aubrey. It's just there's a little bit of she kind of gets away with it to me, because I kind of believe what she's doing in a way. Because she's kind of showing her emotion as the referee. And I feel like that's different. But what this Bryce guy does is very ridiculous. And honestly, I don't know how anybody has not called this guy out yet in wrestling. Like, I don't know how someone hasn't been like, dude, are you a mark for yourself? Are you trying to get yourself over? Like, what are you doing out there? You're being ridiculous. Like, he's showing up more than any other referee. And I don't know why that is. So Aubrey, she's supposed to be the main referee. She has this connection with the crowd and everybody at AEW. And, you know, she's, whatever. You know, I can kind of accept a little bit of that from her. But from this Bryce guy, it's really annoying. I think it's wrong. I think it's pathetic. I think he thinks he's cute. I think it's annoying. I can't tell you how annoying it is. People are starting to notice it too now. There's memes and things like that, and maybe it will work for him because clearly the idea is, I'm gonna get myself over, and you know, I'm gonna be the referee that, you know, is more important than the other referees because people like me and they make memes about me and stuff. So that's what I'm worried that he's doing. And if he's not doing that, and this is just his personality and that's all he does, well, then he needs to know that this is the perception because a lot of people perceive it that way. And I thought I was alone, but there's a lot of people starting to see what this guy's doing. Anyway, that's my overall review of everything tapped on to just talking about that tag match from the other night. I'm still having a little bit of breathing issues, a little bit not feeling the best, but at the same time feeling a little bit better than last night. I was able to talk with you guys for 21 minutes here, so all right. I will catch you guys later. Hope you enjoyed this. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think. And I'm sorry for the rough audio, but I'm on my phone because I thought I could get some more words out doing it this way right now. Thanks for listening. It's Joe Cronin. Leave a like, leave a comment, and check out my Patreon. We should have Corrupted coming later on Patreon.com/Joe Cronin Show.